All right. We're going to go back to Genesis 30, and we're going to. I'm gonna review just a couple verses that I already read last week, but it's okay. It'll just bring us into where we're at. So I'm going to start at verse 25. After Rachel had given birth to Joseph, the 11th son to Jacob, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me on my way so I can return to my own place, to my own country. Let me take my wives for whom I have served you and my children, and let me go. You know very well how faithfully I have served you." And Laban answered him, "If you regard me favorably, then please listen. I have observed the signs that Adonai has blessed me on account of you." Remember we talked about that? Okay? Let people be able to observe in their lives signs of blessing because of our obedience and walking with Yeshua. Okay? "Name your wages," he said, "and I will pay them." Name your wages and I will pay them. Laban answered him, "If you regard me, pay them." You know, Jacob is starting to catch on. What happened 14 years prior? Because it's been 14 years. Okay, we're at 14 years. Maybe a month or two longer, but we're right at 14 years. Okay. And he had said to him, "Give me, I'll work for you for 7 years for Rachel, your youngest daughter." And Laban says, "Better I give her to you than someone." Laban, you gotta listen to Laban's words. Okay, he didn't really lie to him, but he didn't really tell him the truth. Right? "Name your wages," he says, "and I will pay him." And what does Jacob say? Oh, he says, I'm sorry, and Laban says, "What should I give you?" And what does Jacob say? Nothing. Okay. The key word here is Laban says, after the wages, there's some negotiation going on here. So let me read it and then go back to it. He says, "Name your wages," he says, "and I will pay them." Verse 29, Jacob replied, "You know how faithfully I have served you and how your livestock have prospered under my care. The few you had before I came have increased substantially. Adonai has blessed you wherever I went. But now, when will I provide for my own household?" Right? So there's this Middle Eastern thing called negotiation. When we get to, remember Abraham negotiated to buy a field, right? "Let me buy this." "Oh, no, I'll give it to you." No. Discernment, right? They're negotiating. So this is negotiation going on here. "You know how faithfully I've served you and how your livestock have prospered under my care. The few you had before I came have increased substantially. Adonai has blessed you wherever I went." Did you hear that? Adonai has blessed you wherever I went. Why? He's under the authority of Laban. Do you understand that? He is under Laban's authority. He might be. Okay, when he left, he was at least 40 years old. Okay? Probably a little older because we learned that his twin brother married. It says at 40 he took 2 wives. I don't think he probably took them like both in the same time, year, day, week, whatever. Okay? So there's a little bit of time here. So he's at least 54. If you take 14 years and 40. Okay, I think he's older than that. But he's at least 54, but he understands authority. Something our Western mindset doesn't really comprehend.
We comprehend it, we just don't accept it.
Yeah, we don't accept it because it's not part of our Western
Mindset.
our Western culture. So let's go contrary to culture. Okay? Let's swim against the tide. Let's stand out. It's okay to stand out. It's okay to be different. Don't be weird. Weird comes from witchcraft. If you look at the original word, okay, you don't tell anybody. If you're telling somebody that they're weird, you're telling them that it comes from witchcraft. Okay, that's the root of the word. It is. Okay, so don't be weird. Just be different. It's okay to be a little odd. Okay to be a little bit crazy, but just
Out of the ordinary.
out of the ordinary. Go against the current. Okay, stand apart. Be separate. I don't care what you want to be, just don't be weird. All right. Yaakov 29, I'm going to do it again. Replied, you know how faithfully I've served you and how your livestock have prospered under my care. The few you had before I came have increased substantially. Adonai has blessed you wherever I went because I'm under your authority. I've worked for you, just like we see future Joseph, right? Okay. But now, when will I provide for my own household? Oops. And Laban said, what should I give you? Did you hear it? What should I give you? No! This is when Jacob says, nothing. Don't give me anything. You know, nothing is free except for the salvation and the free gift of grace and love from God. All I have to do is accept it, embrace it, grab hold, and then follow, which means I do something. I don't have to do it before I come to him, but I definitely have to do something after I come to him. Okay? There's a big difference. Nothing is free. Someone in my life used to give gifts, and there were strings attached. Eventually, they became cables. Big, metal, twisted, heavy cables. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah, I know you do. You were there. Cut the cables.
The eagle landed.
Yeah. So you don't accept the gift. And if you find yourself that maybe you've accepted a gift and there's strings attached, give it back. Give it back. Say, here, I don't want what comes with this. Okay? I don't want what comes with this. Count the cost. So Jacob said, nothing. Don't give me nothing. Nothing. Just do this one thing for me. Once more, I will pasture your flock and take care of it. I will go through the flock and pick out every speckled, spotted, or brown sheep. Let me show you a picture. Well, eventually. There's some speckled out there, aren't there? Brown ones, yeah. And every speckled or spotted goat, these and their offspring will be my wages. And I will let my integrity, stand as witness against me in the future. Let me go to that one. If we hold on to teachings that we had heard, how Jacob is usurper, this doesn't line up. How can you be a usurper and have integrity? How can you be a deceiver and have integrity? Now follow me here. Abraham and Sarah come from the same family. They're half brother and sister. They're also husband and wife. Isaac comes from there. His wife, Rebecca, also comes from that same family, right? Distant cousins. Therefore, Esau and Jacob come from there. Leah and Rachel come from there. What do we see in this family constantly? A little bit of deceivousness, right? A little bit of stretching the truth.
Deception.
A little bit of deception. But here's the thing. Bilhah and Zilpah aren't from that family line. Very interesting. Doesn't mean an individual can't come. We call that familiar spirits. Okay, something that comes through the family line is something that's familiar. That's like a familiar spirit. Alcoholism runs in families. Is something familiar. Take authority over it. Okay, so if alcoholism runs in your family, don't drink. Just don't do it. I know what the Bible says. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with drinking. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if it runs in your family, and there's a problem and you're going to be prone to it, why? Okay? God's not tempting you. You are. So it doesn't line up. So I go back to the name of Jacob, and the root of the meaning is one who follows closely after. Okay? If he follows closely after, let my integrity stand fits, right? So let my integrity stand as witness against me in the future. When you come to look over the animals constituting my wages, every goat that isn't speckled or spotted, and every sheep that isn't brown will be counted as stolen by me. And Laban replied, as you have said, let it be so. Now, that's the complete Jewish Bible. In the English Standard Version, or no, actually, Sherry's paraphrase is kind of like, behold, because the word is hine. Okay? So Laban says, okay, here, look. Let it be according to your word. He actually says, let it be according to your word. He doesn't say, let it be, so be it. Because so be it to me means amen.
Mm-hmm.
Let it be so. Which he is saying, let it be so. But he's actually saying, according to your word. So he's actually agreeing with Jacob for the first time. And that's what I wanted us to understand. Is he's saying, let it be according to your word. Because before, when Jacob said, give me Rachel, I'll work for you for 7 years for Rachel, your youngest daughter. Laban didn't answer him. See, Jacob's caught on. Jacob's learned how to communicate, if you will, with the deceiver. He's learned how to negotiate. Okay? So very specifically this time, Laban's going to have a hard time getting out of it, although he does, we see. But he says, according to your word. Okay? So let's use sharp ears. Okay? Let's use sharp ears. That day Laban removed, what? That day Laban removed the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled or spotted, everyone with white on it, and all the brown sheep, and he turned them over to his sons. Did he just lie? Again?
Went back on his word.
It's completely, totally. This is Laban's character. You get the feeling that if Rebecca had stayed for 6 or 7 days instead of going back with the servant, Abraham's servant, that somehow he would have manipulated and changed something. And maybe Rebecca knew that and said, no, I'll go with him now. Things to think about. These are things Sherry's brain goes.
I think, well, he even put 3 days distance between himself and Jacob, thinking, there is no way his flock is going to intermingle with
That's
my
right.
flock.
That's right. But he took the ones
Yeah,
that he identified would be Jacob's
yeah.
and separated them 3 days, right?
So,
And put 3 days difference between himself and Yaakov, and Yaakov fed the rest of the flock. Okay, now here's where the story gets very interesting, and here's where I said it starts to look like Acts 10 and 11. If you take 10 and 11 and you just read the vision of Peter, no wonder the church gets it wrong as to what it means. You got to get 11 too, okay? So here we go. So we're gonna read all of 31. Yes, we are. But we're going to start in 30, verse 37. Jacob, Yaakov, took fresh cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees and made white streaks on them by peeling off the bark. It's not weird. It's not weird. Excuse me. Then he set the rods he had peeled upright in the watering troughs so that the animals would see them when they came to drink. And you're thinking, yeah, it's getting a little weird. No, it's not weird. And since they breed, when they came to drink, the animals mated inside of the rods and gave birth to streaked, speckled, and spotted young. And you're going, now, Sherry, come on. That's sounding a little weird here. It's sounding a little voodoo-ish, right? Nope, hold on. Yaakov divided the lambs and had the animals mate with the streaked and the brown in the flock of Laban. I don't know how it happened. I can't answer. I don't have those details. We don't have them, so I'm no speculation. He also kept his own livestock separate and did not have them mix with Laban's. Whenever the hardier animals came into heat, Yaakov would set up the rods in the watering troughs so that the animals would see them and conceive in front of them. But he didn't set up the rods in front of the weaker animals. There's a hint. Thus the more feeble were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. And in this way the man Jacob became very rich and had large flocks along with male and female slaves, camels, and donkeys. But then he heard what Laban's sons were saying. Okay, let me stop. I'm going to give you a hint. Poplar. That's one of the trees, right? Poplar, almond, and plane trees. Poplar is good for inflammation, for pain. It reduces infectious properties. It's good for your respiratory. It's good for healing and clotting. It's good for the urinary tract. It is a medicinal. Are you following me? Mm-hmm. So is almond and plane tree. Nope, not there. They are medicinal. Okay? There's nothing voodoo-y about it. There's nothing weird about it. There's nothing crazy about it. Although it does get a little bit better here in just a minute. But streaking it releases the oils. And he put it, okay, but he only put it in front of the strong ones to make them even healthier, right? Mm-hmm. Give them all the benefit they needed. But the weaker ones, I'm not going to waste my time. Chapter 31. But then he heard what Laban's sons were saying, and Yaakov was taken, that Yaakov, quote, this is what Laban's sons are saying, Jacob has taken away everything that our father once had. It's from what used to belong to our father that he has gotten so rich. He meaning Jacob, saw that Laban regarded him differently than before. And then Adonai, Yud-He-Vav-He, said to Jacob, return to the land of your ancestors, to your kinsmen, and I will be with you. Did you hear that? Turn. Shuv, return. I will be with you. There is no condition here. None. It's part of covenant. There is no condition. I will be with you. If you need to put that on a piece of paper and slap it on your mirror and look at that every day, please do so that you understand that if you're in covenant with him, he's with you. Always. Verse 4. So Yaakov sent for Rachel and Leah. Notice Rachel's name is first, even though she's the younger. And Leah is the first wife. She has the role of prominence. Okay, she is the first wife. So she's in the number one slot.
She was a little deceitful too, though.
Leah?
Yeah. When her dad, when Jacob thought he was coming into Rachel, Leah knew.
Yep.
She knew exactly what she was doing. So
she did.
She's not totally guilty.
But she was under her father's authority. You have to remember that.
She still could have opened her mouth and said,
And then had the wrath of her father. But yes.
Yeah.
So Yaakov sent for Rachel and Leah and had them come to the field where his flock was. And he said to them, I see by the way that your father looks that he feels differently toward me than before. But the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength, and that your father has belittled me and changed my wages 10 times. We don't have a record of all 10 of those. But we can trust that it's so because it's repeated. But God did not allow him to do me any damage. Did you hear that? If God is with you, is he going to let anything harm you detrimentally? Okay. If it's not beneficial, it's not going to happen. If he said the speckled would be your wages, then all the animals gave birth to speckled young. And if he said the streaked will be your wages, then all the animals gave birth to streaked young. This is how God has taken away your father's animals and given them to me. Now here's where we find out why Jacob did what he did. Once, when the animals were mating, I had a dream. I looked up, and there in front of me, the male goats which mated with the females were streaked, speckled, and mottled. God already told him. This is prior to the incident where Laban asked him, what shall I give you? Nothing. What will your wages be? Then in the dream, the angel of God said to me, Yaakov. And I replied, what's my word?
Here I am.
Hine! Hineni, right? Here I am. Here I am. And he continued, raise your eyes now and look. All the male goats mating with the females are streaked, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen everything Laban has been doing to you. Don't think God doesn't see. Even if you don't hear him, even if you don't feel him,
He sees.
he sees. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a standing stone with oil. Now we have confirmation of what we read a few weeks before. For the first time, we saw that a stone was anointed with oil. Where you vowed your vow to me. Ah, Jacob made a vow. Is Jacob going to hold to that vow? Yes, he follows closely after. Now get up, get out of this land, and return to the land where you were born. Rachel and Leah answered him, we no longer have any inheritance from our father's possessions, and he considers us foreigners, since he has sold us. Did he sell them? Yeah, he did. Each one of those young women, well, those mothers, those wives, were worth 7 years of hard labor. Moreover, he has consumed everything he received in exchange for us, all of the work. Nevertheless, the wealth which God has taken away from our father has become ours and our children's anyway. So whatever God has told you, do it. Right? Whatever he's told you to do, do. Then Yaakov got up, put his sons and his wives on the camels. Let me see. Something like that. It's kind of hard to think sometimes that they actually were on the camels, right? Yeah. And he carried off all his livestock, along with all the riches he had accumulated, the livestock in his possession, which he had acquired in Padam Aram, to go to Isaac, his father, in the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to shear his sheep, so Rachel stole the household idols that belonged to her father. I don't know why. I can't tell you. Is it because they were gold and silver and they had value? Is it because they were sentimental to her because she grew up in that home? Is it because she secretly served those gods? I don't know.
Worship those idols.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. But what I can say is that Rachel took something that did not belong to her. Because the household gods would have gone to the sons. Okay? And Yaakov outwitted. I really don't like that word, but okay. Laban the Arami, by not telling him of his intended flight. So now, let me find a map for you. And actually, you have maps. So I want you to look at the map. And see little tiny Israel right here? Little tiny Israel. All the way, this is the Euphrates River on your map. Okay, if you go too far to the second river, that's the Tigris. Okay, so don't go that far. But if you go past the Euphrates, you see Syria looks like it's below the Euphrates, and then you see Mesopotamia and Hurrians, you see Assyria and Armenia. I want to tell you that the Armenians actually lived in where Turkey is now. Okay, they've been shoved out of Turkey. Okay, there was a genocide on Armenians as much as there was a genocide on the Jewish people by Hitler. Okay, same kind of well, different atrocities, but same genocide, same annihilation. So what it's just telling you is that beyond the Euphrates, this is where Laban lived. Okay, and it makes sense because if you see there's Haran, and that makes sense because Haran is also the son of Terah, Abram's father. So that would be the same house. That's where they stayed, right? And Abraham went down into Israel, Canaan. Does that make sense? That's the distance. It's beyond Mount Hermon. They've got to go through the mountains. There's a great distance here, okay? Especially when you're talking children that are under 7 and 6. Well, 6 and 6.
Well,
That
you
would
don't
be
know how many,
12 or
how long did it take him to build up his flock?
6 years.
Okay,
Yeah, he only worked for 6 years.
okay.
So my belief is that after 20 years,
Yeah.
he's leaving Laban. He worked
Okay.
7 and 7 and 6. Okay?
Okay.
And then because his flocks are growing, he's getting the spotted, the speckled, and the brown, and the this, you know, and Laban's sons are going, look, you're just taking away our father's wealth. So things are starting to get a little dicey in here, right? So roughly 20 years, which means that the youngest or the oldest son couldn't be more than 12. Okay, 7 and 6. That's 13, but there's 9 months of pregnant, you know, so, you know, whatever. So 12.
And the rest were little.
And the rest are little. And there's only 11 sons, right? One daughter that we know of. There were other daughters, but we only have one name. Okay. Verse 21. So he fled with everything he had. He departed across the Euphrates River, right? And he set out for the hill country of Gilead. That, you know, all those hills I showed you, right? Between the Euphrates and Mount Hermon. There's a lot of mountains and hills in there, okay? Not until the 3rd day was Laban told that Yaakov had fled. I don't know why. I don't know if servants secretly wanted to let Jacob get away or were helping him, or I have no idea. Or it took that long to find him. I have no idea. Laban took his kinsman with him and spent the next 7 days pursuing Yaakov, overtaking him in the hill country of Gilead. But God, my 2 favorite words, right? But God came to Laban the Arami in a dream that night, and he said to him, be careful that you don't say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. Now, in my mind, what happens, I don't think Laban listened very well. But that's my humanness. Maybe there's something more to it, and actually there is. Verse 25. When Laban caught up with Jacob, Jacob had set up camp in the hill country, so that Laban and his kinsmen set up camp in the hill country of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, what do you mean by deceiving me and carrying off my daughters as if they were captives taken in war? Why did you flee in secret and deceive me and not tell me? I would have sent you off with joy and singing to the music of tambourines and lyres. You didn't even let me kiss my sons and my daughters goodbye. What a stupid thing you do. Now that to me doesn't sound like he heeded not to say anything good or bad.
Keep his word.
But yet, actually, in a way, he did. Because don't speak to him good or bad means don't pronounce a curse or a judgment, okay? So it's different. It's not the Western way of thinking. You didn't even let me kiss my sons and daughters goodbye. What a stupid thing you do. I have it in my power to do you harm. Yes, he does. But God, in this case it's but the God of your father, spoke to me last night and said, be careful that you don't say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. Granted that you had to leave because you longed so deeply for your father's house. You just had to throw that in there, right? But why did you steal my gods? So Jacob answered Laban. Now, Sherry's thinking is, why? I don't know, maybe we answer in reverse sometimes. Have you noticed we answer in reverse? I mean, I think about that and I thought, wow, we answer in reverse. It really taught me some of the ways that we communicate. We'll answer in the backwards order that they were given and get back to the original. But Jacob doesn't do that. He answers his first question, because I was afraid. I said, suppose you take your daughters away from me by force. I think he was kind of justifying that, don't you? Laban's kind of devious. And besides, he brought all his brethren, he brought a bunch of people with him, right? If he just wanted to say goodbye to his daughters and his grandchildren, he could have just come. But if you find your gods with someone, that person will not remain alive. Why did he say that? He was fully innocent. He had no knowledge. If you think for a second that he had any idea that Rachel had done this, Rachel's his beloved. He would never have said that. Okay? So right there's now words that have been spoken that will come to be. It will come to pass. The one who took it will die. So with our kinsmen to witness, if you spot anything that I have which belongs to you, take it back. Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and rifled through it. Those are my words. Then he went into Leah's tent and he rifled through it. Those are my words. Then he went into the tent of the 2 slave girls, but he did not find them. He left Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household gods and put them in the saddle of the camel and was sitting on them. Laban felt all around the tent but did not find them. And she said to her father, "Oh, please don't be angry with me. I'm not getting up in your presence, but it's the time of my period." So he searched all around. So, in other words, and I'm not going to move. I'm not feeling well. It's that time. And he's like, okay. And he searched us all around, but he didn't find his household gods. Household gods can be small. The Romans used to have nooks in their walls, and so they had household, you could hold them in your hand. They had household gods. Or they could be bigger if we jump ahead to the time of King David when he marries Michal, and he needs to get out of Dodge, and she takes the household god and hides it in the bed like it's him. So that's a bigger one. Does that make sense? So I don't know the size, but obviously if she hid it in the saddle, it's not going to be a big one. They're going to be little. Okay? So if they're little, at least little enough to go into those camel bags, he rifled through everything, right? Then Yaakov became angry and started arguing with Laban. "What have I done wrong?" he demanded. "What is my offense that you have come after me in hot pursuit?" Is he right? Yeah. "You have felt all around in my stuff." See, I told you rifled through it. "But what have you found of all your household goods?" Not just God's. Did you see that? What have you found? Did you find anything that was yours? Yeah. "Put it here," he says. "Put it here in front of our kinsmen and yours, so that they can render judgment between the 2 of us. I have been with you for these," here it is, 20 years. "Your female sheep and goats haven't aborted their young, and I haven't eaten the male animals in your flocks. If one of your flock was destroyed by a wild animal, I did not bring the carcass to you, but I bore the loss myself." That's above integrity. Because even the law, if a wild animal comes and constitutes it, even the person in charge isn't responsible. It doesn't have to make it right. "I didn't bring a carcass to you, but bore the loss myself. You demanded that I compensate you for any animal stolen, whether by day or by night." Again, against later future God's law. Okay, if it comes in the day, it's different. There's difference. "Here's how it was for me. During the day, thirst consumed me, and at night, the cold. My sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I've been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, the one whom Yitzhak, Isaac, his father, fears, had not been on my side, by now you would certainly have already sent me away with nothing." That's not a deceiver. I'm sorry, I don't see Jacob as a deceiver. I don't. "God has seen how distressed I have been and how hard I've worked. And last night he passed judgment in my favor." Wow. Okay, I need to stop here. Have you noticed Jacob has dreams and visions? Which one of his sons has dreams and visions? Joseph. We often wonder, why does he favor Joseph? Why does he favor Joseph? Is it just because he's Rachel's? Or is there more to it? I'm going to tell you there's more to it. Maybe Jacob sees himself in Joseph. Still not a good idea to show favoritism, especially when you got 11 sons. And the youngest one is the one you want to favor. Not a good idea. So here's what Laban answers. Did you notice even Laban, who doesn't follow the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, had a vision from God? Please don't tell me God can't talk to people. Cyrus, Belshazzar, Nebuchadnezzar. So Laban answers Jacob, the daughters are mine. What? Yeah. The children are mine. Man, boy, Laban is like on the borderline here of going against what God's saying, right? Because he doesn't pronounce a judgment. He doesn't make a judgment, but it's coming out of his mouth. The flocks are mine. Everything you see here is mine, he says. But what can I do about it today? Well, number one, God already told you not to say anything stupid, right? But what can I do about it? These things, these daughters of mine, or the children they have born. Okay, so now come. Let's make a covenant. I and you. And let it stand as a testimony between you, Jacob, and me, Laban. Wait a minute, Laban wants to make a covenant? Jacob took a stone and set it upright as a standing stone. And then Jacob said to his kinsmen, gather some stones. And they took stones and they made a pile of them, and they ate there by the pile of stones. And Laban called out, and he called it Yagar Sahaduta, pile of witness in Aramaic. I don't speak Aramaic, so forgive me. While Jacob called it Gal-ed, pile of witness in Hebrew. Laban said, this pile witnesses between me and you today. Did you know that rocks are witness? Rocks give testimony? Didn't Yeshua say the very rocks will cry out? You know, rocks have been around for a long time. Mountainous rocks have borne witness to all of history. Sorry. May Adonai, because he says, this pile witnesses between me and you today. This is why it is called Gad Ed, and also Ha Mitzpah, the watchtower. That's where that term comes from. Because he said, may Adonai watch between me and you whenever we are apart from each other. If you cause pain to my daughters, or if you take wives in addition to my daughters, then even if there is no one, if no one is there with us, still God is witness between me and you. And Laban also, so he knows that God's watching, even though Laban doesn't follow. So Laban also said to Yaakov, here's this pile, and here's this standing stone, which I have set up between me and you. Not Jacob did, but they both did. May this pile be a witness, and may the standing stone be a witness, that I will not pass beyond this pile to you, and you will not pass beyond this pile and this standing stone to cause me harm. Oh, now who's worried? May the God of Abraham and also the God of Nahor, that's his father? Abraham and Nahor are brothers? Laban's father? The God of their father judge between us. But Yaakov swore by the one, Echad, of his father, Isaac feared. Yaakov offered us, so you're wondering, so did Nahor and Taran, did they have different gods? Abraham follows the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He follows the God of creation. But Nahor, Laban, is following a different God. And Yaakov offered a sacrifice on the mountain and invited his kinsmen to the meal. Is that covenant? That's covenant, right? That's covenant. And they ate food and they spent the whole night on the mountain. Then early in the morning, chapter 32, Laban got up, kissed his sons and daughters, and blessed them. Then Laban left and returned to his own place. And Yaakov went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Yaakov saw them, he said, this is God's camp. And God called that place Mechanayim, 2 camps. Okay? So what do we get out of this? Jacob got wise. He started listening instead of being deceived by a deceiver, right? He got wise. He used words wisely. He also had dreams and visions with God. I don't have dreams and visions. I hear differently from God. Okay? So don't covet somebody else's way or however God speaks to you. Learn how he speaks to you. Okay? Learn how he talks to you, he speaks to you, he shows you. And in the silence, don't think, oh, he's not talking to me. Yeah, he is. Silence is okay. Okay? We need to be discerning, right? We need to be discerning. And we need to understand our enemy. We need to understand our enemy and answer correctly. Okay? We need to answer our enemy correctly. And then there's covenant. Okay, we'll stop there.
What's wrong? Oh, you don't want
Yeah,
to
my
off
clothes
the
out.
bed.
Yeah. She's free. She's free. Okay, Mimi. V'yirakak Adonai v'yashmerecha Yair panav elecha v'yihunecha Yisei Adonai panav elecha v'yihunecha V'yeshlem ha-shalom V'yeshlem ha-shalom. May the Lord bless and keep you. May his face and his grace shine upon you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. And give you peace. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.